All right, hey Vikings fans, welcome in to another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer, talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. And this week we tried the Ruthie from Exile, and we also had friend of the show Forrest on with us, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, talk about good cold beer. Speaking of cold, what about that cold shoulder the NFL's showing on that top NFL list of top 100?
I bet some Bears will show up eventually, but there was another Viking that showed up, so that was fun to talk about. Kirk Cousins keeps showing up on the podcast, too. We spent some time talking about him, even though he's not a Viking anymore.
Yeah, but it sure sounds like he might regret not being a Viking anymore. You'll have to listen to our thoughts on that. But then we wrapped up the episode talking about all of the wonderful things we love about sports.
So, grab your favorite beverage and join us.
Skol.
We are going to take just a quick minute to give a shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, Big Top Ventures. If you're looking to take an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, we want you to send them an email. We're going to put that down here underneath things. It's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Send them an email. Let them know when you're looking to take your trip and what you might be interested in doing while on your trip, and they'll hook you up with the best rate possible. So thanks to Big Top for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, thanks guys. And maybe by the next time you guys hear my voice on a future episode, I will have been to Mexico via Big Top Ventures. So I'm just throwing it out there. Evan, I've lapped you a few times. You need to book a trip. Forrest has even gone a couple of times.
I have gone a couple.
Yeah, he's lapped you.
I told you my plan. One of these days, I'm just going to walk out of the room during the ad read and let you do it, and then I'll come back when it's over.
Okay.
Until we're done with,
so that I don't berate you for...
Yeah. No, it's all good. I can take it. I have a plan.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
You have symbols of a plan or something like that?
I think on a past episode you said by the end of this year, I thought.
Yeah, he's made a few promises.
Yeah.
Not even to me. You're promising yourself. I feel bad for Evan.
My wife actually listens sometimes, so she knows. She's aware.
She needs to twist your ear or something and make you go. Do you guys have passports and everything?
That's part of the problem. We do need to do that.
Yeah, you got to jump on that.
Mine expired in 2020, I think.
Well, for everybody else, go ahead and reach out to Big Top Ventures. It'll be a good trip for you.
Well, instead of talking about the vacations that I don't get to take, let's talk about the beer that I do get to drink.
Yeah.
And you brought this, Austin.
I did. So I think I told you guys. Also, hold on. Before we get any further in this, if you're a viewer of this show, you may notice something different. And he's piped in once or twice already. But we have, yet again, friend of the show, Forrest. Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks, guys, for having me.
This just feels so natural. I didn't even really think to acknowledge you. So
here we are, 5 minutes into the episode.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, we will give you a chance to talk.
I think gave your viewers a few seconds to now tune out now that I'm on the show. So
was this kind of your slide in moment? Who is it? Is it Collinsworth that slides in?
I need, next time I need a rolly chair.
A rolly chair.
Yep.
Well, Forrest has slid in now, and he can give his opinions on this beer that we're drinking. We are trying the Exile Brewing Company Ruthie, which is a gold lager. I could have sworn that we had tried this on the podcast before. I checked our database before I actually bought it, and it says no. We've had a few other Exile beers, some really good ones, but we have yet to try the Ruthie. So I'm really looking forward to this, guys. Do you have any pre-thoughts before we crack these open?
I do know that it's probably one of Iowa's most famous beers.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it is the most famous beer to come out of Iowa, but it's up there. I think when people think of Iowa beers, this is probably top 10, maybe even top 5. I would rely on the beer expert here.
No, I totally agree with you. You know, you associate Iowa with farmers and corn and so yeah, you want a beer taste for and this I think put them on the map, Exile, a long time ago. So
yeah, well, I'm excited to try this on the show. I think it's fair to say we've all tried this beer before.
Oh yeah,
this is, like we just said, a pretty famous one, and a pretty easy drinker. I was kind of surprised to see the can says it's 4.9%, which is solid. You know, just a really good beer. Nothing too crazy. You can throw a handful back. Maybe I had too heavy of a pour here because that's kind of
typical.
that's crazy for me. So
you should have poured like 2 minutes before.
Yeah, I should have poured this before we started recording, and then maybe it'd die down by then. But let's just give it a try. Skol.
Skol.
Yeah.
It's about what I remember it to be.
Yeah, just
Nothing's
a solid beer, a gold lager. I mean, yeah,
it's an easy to go to, you know, grab out of your fridge, and if you just want an easy drinker. So
and I feel like this is better than anything like a Busch Light would give you. Like,
oh, it's got flavor to it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they didn't try to do too much with it, but it's definitely a very well done lager.
Yeah.
Can I share maybe a controversial opinion? Not about the beer itself.
Oh, no.
Not about the beer itself. Exile, I like Ruthie. It's a good beer. I've had many of them. And the beer itself is not disappointing at all. But something that annoys me about Iowa breweries in particular is it seems like every Iowa brewery seeks to make a beer that is the Bud Light equivalent. And I find that really annoying. And I'm not the type of guy that's going to go to the bar and say, well, what do you have that's like a Bud Light? Give me that. That's not what I go for. And I'm just annoyed that people don't appreciate beer enough. It's not even the brewery's fault, really. It's people that go to breweries that expect these craft breweries, these small microbreweries that spend their days making awesome beers of all different types and varieties, just so that they can come and get something that's close to their Busch Latte or their Bud Light. If that's what you want, they probably have cans of that in the fridge.
Yeah.
So drink that instead. I don't know.
I tend
Controversial
to agree with
opinion,
you.
maybe.
I think it's an old man take, but I tend to agree with you a little bit. But I will say there are definitely some people out there that would love to go to an Exile brewery or one of these other amazing Iowa breweries, and they've got a buddy that they'd love to come with them, but their buddy is only going to drink the Bud Light or the Busch Light. And again, there's nothing wrong with those other beers, but if their buddy knows, like, all right, well, I don't like anything these craft breweries put out, but I do know Exile, they have that one Ruthie, and that's pretty good, so I'll go with my buddy. And then, you know, the actual beer lover can go and get an IPA or whatever they want, and still hang out with their buddy.
I not that I disagree with your take, Evan, and I totally agree with you, or Austin. I think there's two things. First of all, you need to know your base. So if you're a brewery, you need to make what people will drink. So
that's true.
You can't just pump out all IPAs because that's not for everybody. So having a nice mix on your roster of beer choices is always good. The other thing is cost. This takes some time and skill to make, but it's simple. Ingredient wise, it's probably a little cheaper to make than several of their other beers as well. So I think there's a lot of dynamics that go into when a brewery picks what to make. And it is interesting, though. You'll start to see, or you're starting to see more pilsners, lagers, kolsches. The what I always refer back to, the beer. They're making their way back. People, I think, have forgotten what true original beer tastes like.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat to see.
And I realize that I'm maybe speaking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit because I haven't necessarily like chided against the IPAs and the sours and stuff, and I like them and I can appreciate them, but I definitely don't like the beers that attempt to be more than something they are. I don't like a beer that's like, all in your face and it's got all these other flavors, but you don't appreciate the beer that's behind it. There's only a handful that I can think of that I'm like, I'll drink that because of the novelty. Like I think of the sour apple one that we had,
the caramel
apple Fandango from Toppling Goliath, or the Crushberry sour from Lionbridge. Those are both like what I would say novelty beers.
Both of those are really good though.
I'll have them because they are really good, but I'm not gonna like keep a 30 pack of those in my fridge and just go to them night after night. This is something I would go to night after night because it's good, it's steady, and it's beer. This is what I want. I like the novelty of the other stuff. It's fun. But I don't know. I definitely understand what you're saying, Forrest, but I don't know. I'm still just annoyed with breweries, and maybe not the breweries themselves, but annoyed with people that go to breweries and they're like, I just want something that tastes like Bud Light.
I would say at least if they were getting something that tastes like Bud Light, at least it's craft made.
Yes.
Where it drives me nuts when I go to a craft brewery and they literally open up a Coors Light or a Miller Light or a Bud Light bottle in front of me. I mean, that just irks me. You have all these other choices and you could go anywhere in America to get a domestic beer, and doesn't make any sense to me.
I've gone to 5 cities with coworkers, and they're the ones that wanted to go there. They were the ones that got there first after work, and they're the ones that are drinking wine. Yes, and granted, I'm a teacher and I work with a bunch of women, so that's usually what they drink. Yeah. But I'm like, why would you drink wine at a brewery? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But anyways, here we are. This is good beer.
Yeah, all that to say, the the Ruthie from Exile, solid, fantastic beer, and it's really good because, Forrest, you said this 1,000 times. These lagers and stuff, while it's a simple beer in a final product, to get the same flavor day in, day out, batch after batch, is not the easiest, and it's a sign of consistency.
It is not. I mean, you could argue these are some of the harder ones to master because you are not covering with a ton of hops or adjunct flavors. So to get it consistent, all the different batches that you make.
Well, they've made a bunch of batches by this point. I'm sure.
Yeah, they've got it down, which thankfully they do, because I really like the Ruthie.
So let's talk about something that we started talking about last week.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we can go 2 different routes with this. Last week we talked about a Viking that cracked the top 100 list, and you looked at the schedule. They're like revealing this top 100 list all the way up to like week 1.
Yeah, which is wild.
So it's going to be a while before we have the full list of players revealed. But last week we talked about number 99 on the list was Aaron Jones.
Was he 99? He was in
99 or 98.
90. I think he was 98.
Okay.
But either way, it's still one of the first on there.
He was one of the first on the list, and deservedly so. He had a pretty decent season last year. Definitely improved the Vikings running game. So we can do one of two things. We can talk about another Viking that made it on the list, or we could talk about the Bears that are on the list so far.
Let's start with the Bears, because friend of the show, Forrest, you're a Bears fan. And I respect that.
Thank you.
So let's go.
Do you really?
Let's take the time and go through all of the Chicago Bears, because they've announced, I think, 100 through 85.
It's only gotten through 85 so far.
Yeah, so we can take the time.
You're talking 15 players that it's hit so far.
Evan's looking it up. We need to specify 20.
I don't think you need to look it up. I think your point has been made.
It's more to see how many they've announced so far. So while no doubt there will be some Chicago Bears listed, so far in 100 through 85, we have exactly 0 Bears listed.
I think we were saying it before the podcast that the Bears are hibernating.
Well, my question for you, though, is before we move on back to the Vikings, are there any Chicago Bears you would not just like think they'd be on there, but any Bears that you have to guess one right is going to be on this list. Someone in the top 84 that hasn't been ranked yet. Not where they're going to be ranked, but someone that's definitely going to be on there. Who do you think?
I would say for me, Cole Kmet, I'd say.
Okay.
I mean, for the numbers he had last year, if I'm a guessing person, that would be that. I mean, you want to go with Caleb Williams. I think he had a good rookie year. I don't know if it was top 100, with all the other QBs in the league.
I think there's been one quarterback listed so far, and that was Tua Tagovailoa at 91.
Tua, I mean, when he's healthy,
he's pretty good.
But
he missed a few games.
I think he missed like 5 games. It was a lot. So, if I would go Kmet probably.
Okay. All right. And I think as far as tight ends goes, I know, I believe Sam Laporta of Detroit, he was listed on there, but I don't know of any other tight ends. There might be 1 or 2 other tight ends on there so far, but Sam Laporta, I think
just
he's the only one at number 94. Okay. Yeah.
I would just like to point out really quickly, Tua had 2,867 passing yards and 19 touchdowns. Caleb Williams had 3,500 passing yards and 20 touchdowns.
Okay.
So arguably a better season. We also know
played more games,
right?
Had a rougher go of it because his coach got fired, and then he did. He's had a. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Caleb on there, but I think Cole Kmet, he would be a good.
Yeah, and now that I've seen the list, though, hearing Laporta's already on there.
So Laporta did have a down year.
He did have, but knowing what are they, when they make this list, is it literally go on stats alone, or
I think it's
more importance to what they brought to the team? I don't know.
We can double check, but I really think this top 100 might be purely player voted.
Okay.
So like peer votes. So that can be a little bit different than even like if Stephen A. Smith had a say in it. Like then this list would be garbage.
And that could be because different players, they might not put up the best stats, but if they were not on the team or didn't play for several games, I mean, they're a totally different team, and that's what I think Cole Kmet brings to the Bears. So.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing at all. I think Cole Kmet's one of the better Bears for sure.
I was thinking like Rome Odunze, perhaps.
He had a good rookie year as well.
I thought he could be up there. Or there's that other receiver. Who's the other one? That's pretty good.
You're talking
for Chicago.
DJ Moore.
Yeah, DJ Moore. Yep.
Yeah, I thought about him as well. Both of them had good years. I wouldn't say stellar, but
yeah.
I mean, I think we all can agree. I would think every team would probably be represented with at least one player.
And I joke, but I'd be shocked if there wasn't at least one Bear on this list. That'd be insane.
Right. At the same time, I'm realistic, and I don't think any Bear is going to be in the top 30. I'd probably say as well.
Okay. Well, you never know. I mean,
you never know.
Yeah.
You never know, but
there will definitely be a few Bears on the list, I think. For sure.
Well, so far the Vikings have had 2 on the list. We talked last week, Evan, you said about Aaron Jones, running back, first-year Viking.
You were right. He was 98.
Was he 98?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this week, a second Viking was listed, another first-year Viking, Andrew VanGinkel. If you Skol Hop listeners, you may remember at the end of last week's episode, number 95, Evan and I both kind of listed out who we thought might be the next Viking listed after Aaron Jones on this list, and I predicted it would be somewhere like 60 or better, but I did predict Andrew VanGinkel. I had my sights set a little bit higher than this, but after thinking about it, I think this is it's not bad to be listed on this list at all. Being in the top 100 out of probably almost 2,000 players is pretty solid. But yeah, VanGinkel, he's number 88. And I don't know.
He wasn't ranked last year.
Yeah, not ranked last year. I think he's always been halfway decent. because he's been with Miami every other year of his career. This year, he just unlocked something, and you had a really good point, Evan, about why you thought he was on this list for sure.
I think it's those 2 pick sixes. The one against the Texans. Was it Texans or the Niners? I can't remember.
First one was against the Giants. In
the
League
Giants. One. Okay, I knew it was early on in the season. Then the second one came on basically an identical play against the Jets.
Yeah.
In London,
off Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. So I think those 2 plays alone just prove his football IQ and prove that whatever that play was, I don't know what it is, but whatever that play was that both the Giants and the Jets tried to run, he was right there, blew it up, and ran it back for a touchdown. Because I think those 2 plays were pretty similar.
It's funny you mention that because I think both of them were like quick. Quarterback took the snap and then quick looked to the slot on the quarterback's right
kind of
side.
A screen.
Yeah, a screen. And then VanGinkel, for both of those, seemed to be in really good position to just jump it. He had watched tape or got lucky or both and just read the quarterback enough to know, like, okay, this is a play I might see once or twice or 3 times in this game, and I'm ready for it.
It reminds me of those 2 plays always remind me, and you just said it, like he'd been watching tape. Cam Newton. Oh, you've been watching film too, huh? Well, yeah, watch this.
That was just on...
That's probably what was going through Vanginkel's mind on both of those plays. Like, oh, yeah, I've been watching film. Watch this.
Who was that? I think it was Bussin' with the Boys, the Panthers linebacker, I'm pretty sure, that retired for concussions. Kuechly? I think it was Kuechly that Cam Newton was talking to. And Kuechly was like, I mean, yeah, we watched tape, but like he knew what we were reading, and I think Cam scored a touchdown on that play. Anyways, yeah, whatever it was about that play, because there was at least 2 or 3 other times throughout the season VanGinkel almost had.
Oh yeah.
Like, he almost had that other interception or another pick 6. It was off that same kind of a play. And it was like, oh! It was an exciting experience to watch. And it, turned into pay dirt twice in the season.
Yeah.
Both
he's a great player.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just those 2 pick sixes. He had 50 tackles, 11 and a half sacks, 6 passes defended, a fumble recovery. He was selected to his first Pro Bowl. He was second team All-Pro. So
I think he may have gotten a vote or 2 for Defensive Player of the Year. So
he arguably played his best season of his career with the Vikings. And it was cool, too, because he was reunited with Brian Flores, who was his head coach for a while in Miami. So, yeah, I'm excited for him to come back, and I'm excited for this defense. I think they're going to look scary good.
And if you remember, after the season, VanGinkel was rewarded. I think they tacked on another year to his deal and, like, at least 10 more guaranteed $1 million. So it definitely presented itself in a tangible way for him, and I think he's still young enough he could sign another deal, whether it's with the Vikings or another team after this. So yeah, he's another guy kind of like Hawkinson that just looks like a Viking. It's the long blonde hair. I don't know, he looks like the logo a little bit. So
I was gonna say you can tell he's a football player. I mean, what
out of Wisconsin? Is that
I
where
believe
he went to school?
He went to Wisconsin. You're right.
I think he's a North Dakota prospect, I believe. I might be wrong about that.
I think he went to Wisconsin, though.
But yeah, college Wisconsin or South Dakota.
Well, he started in South. He started in South Dakota,
kid.
And
Rock Valley, Iowa.
Yeah. Yep. I remember him transferring into Wisconsin. I do remember that.
Okay.
Started at USD, South Dakota.
Got it. Okay.
And then Iowa Western Community College for a year before going to Wisconsin.
Which I'm guessing is more grades than
maybe
football.
Yeah. And another guy that,
But man, what a story.
Yeah. And seems like a solid dude, too.
Yeah.
Like actually a good dude.
You can tell his football IQ is top notch.
Yep. All right, well, he was 88. So far, they've announced the top 100 up to number 85, I believe. Evan, if you had to guess, who did you guess might be the next Viking on the list?
I don't even remember. Did I say Harrison Smith?
I think it might have been Harry.
I'm going to stick with that because I think he's going to be up here. I know that he's not going to be probably even top 50, but I think people in the league respect him so much and know that even in his old age, quote unquote, he's still a really good player.
Yeah.
And he's very smart and deserves to be on this list.
I think if Harry's going to be on it, it will be soon. Like the next set of announcements, 84 to 80 or whatever they announce next. And if he's not there, then kind of my hopes are like kind of dashing.
Let me ask you this: how many Vikings do you think are going to be on this list?
That's a good question. I think I'd be interested to
because
to
obviously
know the answer.
you got to put JJ on there.
Well, yeah, he was as high as number 2 like 2 or 3 years ago. He
And
won't be
then-
number 2 this year.
No,
But
and then you have to put Sam Darnold on there. So with the season he had,
and I would still consider him, a Viking on
I mean,
that list.
do you? Who else are you thinking?
I think those two plus I think Harry the Hitman still at this moment.
Yeah.
I'm thinking he'll be on there.
I think you could justify like Jonathan Grenard or Blake Cashman.
Blake Cashman, I think for sure would be a solid selection on there.
TJ Hawkinson maybe.
He was injured though.
TJ, yeah, he might
Or-
get gigged for that.
Jordan Addison.
I could see maybe Jordan Addison. I didn't even know if like Josh Metellus.
Maybe Metellus, but Forrest, I think you hit the nail on the head. As far as like almost guaranteed guys, I think you already named the two: Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold.
Right.
Other than that,
I think maybe like you said, I think another 2 or so sneak in, and I shouldn't say sneak in, but deserve to be on there. But it's hard to say who.
Sure. And you mentioned that you personally don't think there will be any Bears in the top 30. I think the only top 30-ish Viking will be Justin Jefferson. Just because there's a lot of talent in the NFL, and the Vikings didn't have an MVP on the roster, so Justin Jefferson's probably still the best player. It's not even like you can say, Will Riker deserves to be on the list.
When I said JJ earlier, I meant McCarthy.
Well, you're talking next year. JJ McCarthy, he'll be number 1 next year. So
Let's hope so.
Can you imagine? That would mean so many things.
I mean, why do I have a feeling you're going to hear a lot of JJ to JJ?
That's Paul Allen. He's already been practicing for over a year now. JJ to JJ, whatever. That was a terrible Paul Allen. That was almost as good as your Stephen A. impression there, Ev. I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody that just heard that.
Nobody wants to hear my Stephen A. impression again. It's pretty bad.
It'll come out later. Another 1 or 2 of these Ruthies, Evan might break out the Stephen A. Smith impression.
Well, we'll definitely keep our eyes on that top 100 list, and as we get closer and closer to the season, we'll definitely be talking more about who's on that list and if there are any other Vikings. Hopefully some more. Maybe some Bears as well.
I was going to say, if a Bear gets on the list and I'm not on the show that week, at least do a quick little shout out
we'll
to
talk
me.
about it. Yeah.
We'll play that like, I will remember you. Play that song in the background.
You could
Put your
pre-record a little
picture on the
bite right
screen.
now. Just do like some generic like, I knew player A was going to be on the list at number he got listed. And it was such a good idea. Like if you just did that, that'd be funny. Okay. Except I just did it, so I ruined it for you. But if you want to now.
So now it's going to be in your voice right here. So.
I can edit that and we'll make that work. All right. Well, you mentioned that you watched. Did you watch any of the new quarterback series?
I have not.
I haven't either. So you're the only one that's seen it. So you'll have to kind of fill us in on everything that's happened. But Netflix quarterback series came out with another
season
of episodes.
Quarterback. Yeah.
Is this season?
So
3?
they did. They did.
They did receiver.
2 years ago.
That's
They
right.
did quarterback.
That's right. That's
Last
right.
year
That's right.
was receiver.
Yeah.
This year back to quarterback.
Yep, got it.
So season 2 of quarterback,
So,
but season 3
clearly
of the,
no one cares about the running back.
I guess not. Yeah, that's they're waiting on that one.
That'll be a good one to do though, because that's a really interesting one. So Kirk Cousins is back on the quarterback series. Who are the other quarterbacks? We'll talk about Kirk in a minute, but who are the other ones?
So it's Joe Burrow and Jared Goff.
Okay.
And I'm going to be
so
truthful.
there's only 3?
Yeah, so far.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think
Okay.
it'll just follow those 3.
Okay. Interesting.
I'll be truthful. I watched the first episode, so not. I don't know how many. There's probably like 6 or 7 episodes. I only watched the first one, and about halfway through, I just fast forwarded through everything that wasn't Kirk Cousins. so I watched like maybe half of the first episode.
That's fair.
I'm sure Jared Goff's a good dude. Lions fans are the worst fans on the face of the planet. I'm staring at the camera when I say that. And Joe Burrow, he seems...
Yeah, I have to disagree. Philadelphia Eagles fans have to be
okay, they might be close, but I don't know. Lions fans...
I don't care. I mean, I just don't like any other team, but you got to say the Eagles fans are...
Eagles fans, yeah, they might be tied. But having one of our most popular TikTok videos just get totally held hostage by just out of nowhere delirious Lions fans, and then having attended the Lions-Vikings US Bank Stadium game last year, Lions fans are awful. Anyways, all that to say, I fast-forwarded through most of the non-Kirk Cousins parts, and there was one really good soundbite of the from Kirk Cousins in episode 1. And if you're a fan of the NFL, you've heard it 1,000 times already. But he basically said, and maybe it'd be worth it to like pull up the actual quote, but he basically said, like, yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily want to leave Minnesota, but Atlanta was giving me a long-term commitment. Minnesota was more year to year. And then he made the decision to move to Atlanta, who gave him, a lot of money.
Guaranteed money.
What seemed like a long-term commitment. And then, lo and behold, the Vikings, who were pretty obviously going to draft a quarterback high, they drafted a quarterback high. And the Falcons, who were not obviously going to draft a quarterback
even higher.
Yeah, they drafted a quarterback, one or two slots?
Picks, yeah.
2 slots before the Vikings. And Kirk Cousins... I mean, in a pretty blunt way, said, like, I didn't have any reason to leave Minnesota. I loved Minnesota. And my decision might have been a little different if I had had all the information beforehand, because if both teams were going to draft a quarterback high, maybe I would have stayed. Which, again, is not a direct quote, but Evan, you pulled it up.
I pulled it up. So even, this is how newsworthy it is. Even Fox News is carrying this. At the time, this is Kirk's words. At the time, I think he's referring to when they drafted Michael Penix Jr.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, it felt like I had been a little misled, or certainly if I had the information around free agency, it certainly would have affected my decision. And then he went on to say, I had no reason to leave Minnesota with how much we loved it there if both teams are going to be drafting a quarterback high. But I've also learned in 12 years in this league that you're not entitled to anything. It's about being able to earn your spot and prove yourself.
Yeah.
So typical Kirk Cousins, he's not going to, shine the spotlight on himself and just say, hey, look at me, and make it about himself and like, woe is me, I made the wrong choice, blah, blah, blah.
Also, he knows, boo-hoo, you got $100 million guaranteed.
Millions of dollars.
Not just a couple million,
yeah,
$100 million.
It helps heal some of the pain.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel for the guy, because I think we all knew when Michael Penix was drafted, everybody was kind of looking at Kirk like, how are you going to respond to this?
Yeah, but I guess...
And then to make matters worse, sorry to interrupt you,
No, go for it.
To add insult to injury for Kirk, he got benched for the kid that got drafted.
Well, he wasn't playing very good
he
either.
wasn't,
so
and it was partially the Vikings' fault.
You can't blame the Falcons for... If Cousins plays like he was with the Vikings, they keep him going. They keep Penix on the bench. But Cousins did not live up to his hype, at least this last season with the Falcons.
And that's no secret. I will say, too, in the quarterback, in episode 1 at least, they did a really good job of showing Kirk's learning process of the new playbook with Atlanta. He seemed to have a learning curve when it came to specifically all the motions that Atlanta, their offense was running. And I guess I am not an NFL quarterback, obviously. But I guess there was a specific, for every play, a specific order of operations of doing things, where he would signal a motion and then signal the lineman to let the center know that he's ready for the snap, or another play, you'd signal the lineman and then signal the motion. And it showed a couple of examples in game where he kind of messed that up, and then there was a botched snap. So it did show learning a new offense.
Oh, absolutely. New team, new offense, new players. It's
absolutely. So I I don't know. And I feel like they did a really good job too. And he did a really good job not to be like, well, if I would have known, I wouldn't have made this decision. Like his direct quote and the words, if you read it might sound a little bit different, but he was pretty graceful. And he was like, I think anybody would say something like, yeah, I mean, kind of wish I would have known, but like, this is it. Like, he didn't seem mad about it.
No, I think his whole idea was, well, I know Minnesota's going to be drafting one, so that's why he chose to go for the money, whereas he was not expecting Atlanta to, and at least in first round, draft a QB. So
yep. And I personally, I mean, anybody with a rational mind, you can't blame Kirk for leaving Minnesota to go to a team where you're not going to have as much competition. I mean, if you know, like, okay, hey, they're looking for the future, and I'm still in my currency, and I want to go somewhere that, yes, I'm the guy now. Maybe in a couple of years they'll draft somebody, but right now we're full steam ahead, and I'm the conductor.
Yep.
I don't blame him for doing that.
Nope.
I also don't blame him for being upset for, a team not giving him the full equation.
Yeah.
And you've said this for a really long time, probably since we started recording this podcast like 2 years ago now. But Kirk is a phenomenal businessman.
He's very savvy.
He's going to make the best business decision for him and his family. Mm-hmm. We know that Atlanta is home for his wife. I think that's where she's from.
He kind of made it sound like that in his opening press conference with the Falcons.
And I think that's what drew him there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the check drew him there, but I also think the family tie and, getting closer to maybe her family and stuff like that, and not having to, like, always hop on an airplane to be close. And when you make $100 million, you can do whatever you want.
I would say he may be a good businessman, but I think that's an easy choice for almost anybody.
Yeah, none of us, we would all make the exact same decision. Yep. I think all three of us would rip our families out of this area, and we're all pretty, rooted in here for $100 million. Yeah. I mean, that changes your great-grandchildren's lives,
Absolutely.
Two more things on that. There was one kind of almost cringy moment from Kirk and his wife. Is it Julie? Not totally cringy, but the first time we see Kirk in the quarterback series, they're like at his house, and it's like the day before the Falcons' first preseason game, which also happened to be like the day after or even the day of the Vikings' first preseason game this past year. And Kirk was saying, like, it does feel kind of weird. It's like you're watching somebody you used to date somebody else talking about the Vikings, because they were talking about, like, it was weird watching the Vikings play a game and not being there. And Kirk said, again, not a direct quote, but he said something like, it was kind of weird, like, I used to throw to Justin Jefferson, and I used to throw to Jordan Addison, and somebody else is doing that now. Like, what the heck? And again, all in jest, and he seemed happy with the Falcons, but still, like, kind of almost like,
well, in
that's
that
kind of weird.
preseason game, Justin Jefferson was on the sideline with an earpiece talking to Paul Allen in the booth and just going nuts whenever J.J. McCarthy threw a dime to, was it Jalen Naylor or somebody, and he was just going nuts.
Even like Tristan Jackson.
And
I was thinking, as I was hearing Kirk say those words, like, that was probably still in a world where we were there, because remember there was a 24-hour period where we had just seen J.J. McCarthy go out against, thirds and fourth string guys for the Raiders.
But he balled out.
He balled out. After like one or two plays of like rustiness, he ended up balling out. So we were still in that high of like, oh, buddy, we got a guy. We got Joe Burrow 2.0, and before JJ's got some knee soreness. Let's see what that's all about. Oh, he's out for the season. So, Kirk Cousins was also in that world where he's watching the young kid, the kid that the Vikings, he would have been trying to beat out for a job had he stayed with the Vikings, who just balled out. And if I remember right, I think Sam Darnold, he only played that first preseason game, like a drive, maybe two, and he looked pretty decent too. So
he looked good.
So Kirk was saying those words after having, and I don't know if he watched the whole game, but after having watched the Vikings have two quarterbacks play pretty decent in the first opportunity to watch them, and now he's giving a candid interview with Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions. Like, I used to throw to Justin Jefferson.
I don't know that we ever, maybe we did discuss this at some point. I don't know that we did, and feel free to chime in, Forrest. how many games would Sam Darnold have started if J.J. McCarthy were healthy?
Oh, we totally discussed it. That was like our whole off season. Like, when does J.J. start? I asked the You Betcha guys, like, when do you think he starts? Like,
no, I'm talking about like in hindsight. Now that we're through all of it, like looking back, if J.J. would have stayed healthy, Sam Darnold stays healthy, all things remain the same. Just J.J.'s knee is fine, and
he's on the sideline.
It's not broken. What happens? How does that quarterback situation unfold that we know?
I'll give my 2 cents on it, and then I think it really comes down to who do you start in week 1? Because if you start someone in week 1 and they're good, why would you switch things up?
Yep.
Well, and
so either or, if you pick JJ or Sam, if they're doing good, you do not stop them from playing.
And I guess part of why I bring that up is because we're still talking about Kirk, and that was probably very much the Falcons' mindset too. Like, Kirk's a proven commodity. He had a really successful career in Washington. He played really well in Minnesota. Why wouldn't he play any worse here? Of course, we're going to start him week 1, and we'll just see what happens. And obviously, that turned out to be really bad for Kirk because he played terribly against the Vikings. I think he had 4 picks in that game.
That was the game. I don't think he got benched that week, but I think
it was the following week or shortly after.
I think he lost his job after that.
But to answer that question, like, when would JJ, if at all, when would he have, how would the situation have gone? I think, Forrest, you're absolutely right. It would have been whoever got it week 1 would have kept it until they lost it. And not just until, the guy behind them was looking good in practice, until they lost it. And I think Sam Darnold, he was the bridge quarterback. He would have gotten the looks. Unless,
you think he would have got the nod?
I mean, unless in practice everything was looking terrible, but Sam Darnold was looking amazing.
Right.
He looked awesome. Even in that first loss against the Lions, he wasn't the reason. He didn't throw for 1,000 yards, but he wasn't the reason. He didn't throw 7 picks. I think everything would have been the same until that Jaguars game. And that Jaguars game was the first one where we came away thinking and probably I think the first time Kevin O'Connell was getting questions like, what are you thinking about quarterback? And he said, I am not changing anything quarterback wise. Sam is my guy. But I think
But what are your other options? I mean,
Brett Rippin, Nick Mullins. Yeah.
So, I guess that's I'm playing devil's advocate, right? And the more you talk, the more I kind of agree with you. Okay, they lost 2 in a row coming out of the bye week. They lost week 7 at home against the Lions, and then they lost week 8 at the Rams.
And that Rams game, that was a close game. It came down to a ref missing a call.
Yeah. So I agree with you. The Jaguars game was bad. That was maybe one of his worst games.
Multiple interceptions.
Aside from week 18 and the wild card loss to the Rams again. But in the regular season, that might have been Sam Darnold's worst game.
Yeah.
And the defense still rallied, and the rest of the offense still made it happen.
Within field goal range at least 4 times. So,
but yeah, I think you're probably right. At that point, if JJ McCarthy, that is still on the sideline, he's healthy, he's ready to go, that might be one where you're like, all right, fourth quarter's yours. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think fans would have been calling for Sam Darnold's head after the first loss regardless.
Yep.
So you would have started hearing the murmurs after the Lions game. Definitely those murmurs, which would have been senseless, would have gotten louder after the Rams game. And then after that Jaguars game, I think then the people like us would have been like, if they don't make a change, we could lose a season. Stephen A. Smith would have been complaining and Sam Darnold, he still was after Sam, earned a Pro Bowl honor. Sam Darnold's terrible. I think it would have gotten hairy after that Jaguars game. But I still think unless JJ was lighting it up in practice, I still think if everything was the same, Sam Darnold would have kept the job.
Looking back at what the actual schedule was and how you guys performed, I think after that second loss, I think if JJ's healthy, they think about and I can't remember the Rams game if they're in it till the very end.
It
or
was close, and it came down to the Vikings had one more drive.
That's right. That's right. I do remember that now. Thank you. Yes, I do remember that.
Sam Darnold got ripped.
So yeah, it's tough after 2 tough losses in a row.
That's still only 2 losses.
I know, and they're. I mean, you guys are in it, so it's tough. But
I mean, you're talking about a Vikings team that up until week 18 still had a very good chance. Like week 18, if they win, they have the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Well, and it's that particular situation that caused the owners to rewrite the rules, I think, isn't it? Over the offseason?
I don't think they rewrote it, but people did talk about, like, should playoffs really matter about seeding, about your division?
I thought they changed something, though.
Somebody brought that up as a rule, and I don't think it went through.
I'm not diminishing. I mean, you guys had a heck of a season, but as I'm looking through these, I mean, you won a lot of tight games as well. So, I mean... It wasn't like you were just blowing. As much as Darnold played really well, most of the games you weren't blowing.
Yeah, everything was
competitors out of the water.
Still close.
So I think at some point in the season, JJ gets at least some looks, and maybe. I don't know if he has enough time to convince the switch or not. But yeah, it's an interesting question.
Yeah, what do you think? Did you answer?
I think you kind of answered for me. I think at that Week 10 Jaguars win, that was really close, but could have gone the other way pretty quickly. And that was also at the beginning of a 3-game road trip. I really emphasized that at this point last season, that 3-game road trip followed by the 3-game home stretch. Like I was kind of focused in. That was the part of the schedule that really stood out to me. Like they have to win 2 out of 3 on the road, and they've got to win 2 out of 3 at home in that 6-game stretch. They've got to win 4 games there.
And they ended up winning all 6 of those plus 3, 1 before and 2 after.
Yep. So, and that proved to be, I mean, I think had they not done that, their playoff chances, especially as good as the North was this year, probably would have plummeted. The Packers would have, leapfrogged them in the division standings, and the Vikings would have been on the outside looking in, even with a winning record, even with 10, 11 wins, you know. So I definitely agree with you that Jaguars game probably had J.J. McCarthy been healthy on the sideline ready to go, that may have been the turning point. Obviously, we'll never know because
it ended up being a lot more entertaining than that. But yeah, it's a fun thought experiment, and one that just makes me all the more excited for 2025. If JJ is who we all think he is, we watched him in college. They've seen him every day in the building, in rehab, and in practice. And we've heard nothing but great things. So the Vikings Twitter account just like 2 days ago posted like, here's some JJ highlights just to cleanse the timeline here, and it was just a few plays from the preseason game, but it was still fun to look at and fun to watch. I think it'll be good. I think ultimately, had things been the same, even with a healthy JJ, I think Kevin O'Connell had been through, like his previous season, he, out of injury and necessity, had run through a cycle of quarterbacks.
He played 4 different quarterbacks in that season.
Yeah. But I think one kind of down game, that Jaguars game, and if you remember, that Titans game started off it was iffy. Kind of iffy, too. Yep. Those 2 hiccups in the road wouldn't have been enough on their own to make Kevin O'Connell say, like, yeah, I need to get rid of this guy. I think he would have held strong. But you never know, because if you have a healthy option ready for you, I don't know.
And that's why I said earlier, I wonder if, like, fourth quarter of that Jags game, I don't know. It depends on the situation, and I don't remember exactly how that game unfolded. But if there was, like, all right, we're either definitely going to win this or definitely going to lose this,
I think that was one that ended on a defensive an interception, like a game-saving interception.
I think you're right.
I would say, I don't know. It doesn't seem like your coach is overly influenced by fan base or anything else like that. So,
which is what you want.
Like you said, I think he probably would have stuck to his guns, but you never know.
Well, we've got just a little bit of time left here, and we've got just a few beers left here.
We've got all the time in the world. We could make this a 10-hour podcast if we wanted to. Please,
could,
no.
But let's
We
not.
would run out of beer.
No, we would find beer.
We'd have to pee before that,
Yeah,
too.
there's 3 of us. We could take. I'm not advocating for
Man,
this.
your beer glass just like never
Yeah, I have
fully empties.
I have
It's like magic.
I have fully emptied out my allotment for tonight. So
Well, we started talking on this topic last week
Yeah.
of things we hate about sports, and I'll just maybe remind us really quickly of some of the things that we talked about, and that'll give you an idea of how we're going to flip that backwards and talk about things we love about sports. So last week you talked about fans calling their teams we, or referring to their teams as we. So like, oh man, we won that game last night, or whatever, right? Like that really annoys Austin. You also talked about people being fans without any reason, just like, oh yeah, I'm a Jets fan, and they're not from New York at all.
Like a Yankees fan that's never set foot, east of the Mississippi, or the Cowboys fan that couldn't point out Texas on a map, which would be wild. Yeah, they just know the logo.
I talked about hating Wisconsin for sports reasons.
That was hilarious. I think I almost cried.
There's plenty of things I love about Wisconsin.
The beer and cheese. That's all we
So
do.
are you saying I can't be a
cheese.
Manchester United fan?
No.
Wow.
Are you?
No. Just trying to make
They
sure.
don't even play a sport. they're like a
They
club.
play football.
No, they don't.
Soccer.
No, they do.
Soccer.
Yeah, I mean, what's soccer?
Exactly.
I will gladly alienate all of
You've
our
already
Manchester
done.
United
You've already
fans.
done it with the women's crews.
Yeah, my bad.
Why not the soccer fans as well?
Did you see the evil person Angel Reese is going to be the WNBA cover athlete for the video game? Anyways, keep going. We also
stand
I
her.
talked about the increasing difficulty of accessing your favorite live broadcasts of your favorite teams,
That is
especially
annoying.
with like Peacock and YouTube TV and NFL Live, and fill in the blank, whatever. It's not just football; it's everything. Like, you can't watch a gosh darn baseball game on TV right now because
No.
none of the major networks carry baseball games anymore. It's the middle of July. I just want to watch some baseball. It's the only team. They're the only teams playing right now.
I will say we're probably being helped out by not being able to watch the Twins, because that would just be a painful experience
but
right now.
The
anyways.
Cubs are playing really well, and I like the Cubs too.
Well, and funnily enough, within the last 24 hours, the Twins
Cubs beat the Twins.
No, the Cubs lost.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it was like
See,
8-1 or something.
Haven't
like
even
that.
watched it. Didn't even know.
Here we are on a podcast that somebody might listen to 7 years from now. Like, oh, I didn't know the Cubs and the Twins played. No, this was in 2025, guys. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. That might be the last Twins win we see for a while.
So, those are the things we talked about last week. We kind of covered a decent range of things. Let's talk about the things we love
Yes.
about sports.
Oh, you need me to switch my mind? I was getting ready to list things I hate.
Forrest, I told you this yesterday.
Can I
Things we
forgot.
love.
Can I get
forgot.
us started?
Yes, please.
Can I get us started?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
I love this right here about sports. The fact that we can crack open some beers, that we can put some microphones in front of us, talk about sports, and people enjoy that. That's something that I love about sports. Even if the microphones were gone and it was just us and we were just hanging out here,
That's how it started.
this would be awesome. This would be fun. Yeah, it started with us hanging out, drinking beer, and talking about the Vikings. So I love that about sports. It's awesome. It brings people together. Just a short but sweet one.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's a good one.
Do you have one or you want me to go?
Go for it.
I love, and this is pretty unique to
Oh, that
the
was
three
mine.
of us. Oh no. It's gonna. My example is gonna be unique to the three of us, but it's more of a universal thing. For the fans that maybe only go to a few live games, maybe one a season, maybe one every other couple of seasons, going there and making the memories, and specifically how the three of us can spout off some specific memories from a Vikings Cardinals game in 2022.
We can.
Yes, we can.
And we can talk about, man, our seats were here and it was awesome. And remember when Kirk ran for that 20-plus yard touchdown? That was awesome.
I never cheered for refs so hard in my life.
That is funny because Evan and I were we sitting next to each other?
Oh, yeah.
I think, Forrest, you were either next to me on the other side or one or two away from me. And Evan and I would blister our hands with these high fives. And you'd look at me and you'd kind of give me the pity.
I would give you a pity.
Five.
I think you guys both lost your voices by the end of the
my
game.
voice was
easily.
trash.
Yeah,
and I think I sat here. I think it was.
Yes, yeah.
Because my brother-in-law Jason was to my left, so it was Jason, then me, then you.
That's right.
And then Forrest. Yep.
But that whole, I mean, the game was phenomenal.
The game was a lot of
seeing
fun.
Jared Allen come out on the horse.
But the whole weekend, we had a great time.
But we're proving my point. That was I love the quick memories because I maybe sometime in my life I'll be like a season ticket holder and it'll be like I went to 8 games this year plus the playoffs and like we'll have the good memories for that. I'm sure people who are season ticket holders love that. Mm-hmm. But like for me, like the 1 or 2 experiences I get live every year or two, like that's what I love. Like pounding in the memories.
I do want to point out, I want to hear yours.
Yeah.
But I did just purchase, I think I texted you this. We got preseason tickets to the Vikings' first preseason game for my wife and I and our 2 girls. So that'll be their first Vikings game experience, and I'm pumped about it. I'm so excited. $43.
Oh, you
for
can't
all
beat
4
for
of
4
you?
tickets.
Yeah, that's crazy.
For 4 tickets. So basically $10 a ticket. We got a decent hotel room. I have family in the area. We're going to make a weekend of it, go up and see some of them. It's going to be awesome.
That is awesome.
I'm pumped.
I'll before I get to mine, I'll add kind of the same thing. I'm taking my daughter to her first Michigan Wolverines football game this fall.
Nice.
Talk about the memories. I'm super pumped to have her experience that. So super excited.
Who do they play?
I think we're going to go to the Wisconsin game.
Appalachian State.
Wisconsin.
That'll be a good game.
Smack you so hard.
Hey, listeners, Forrest attended the Appalachian State famous Michigan game.
Talk about a memory.
I mean, you still have that ticket, right?
I know I do.
Yeah.
I keep all the tickets.
You didn't burn it?
No, it's a rite of passage now, especially with the national championship.
I can laugh about it now.
Yeah.
I mean,
is the big game in Michigan this year, or is it in Ohio
in
State?
Michigan this year.
Nice.
That would be way too expensive.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And,
that would be a killer game.
And we're trying to figure out where it's not going to be too cold, where my daughter will not enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
So yeah,
because all of our children are 10 or younger.
Right. So I think we're eyeing the Wisconsin game, which is the beginning of October. So
nice.
Anyway, one of my favorite things is rivalries.
Yes,
is something about sports that, it's got to be all fun. It gets to a point you can't have a rivalry with friends that turns nasty. It's got to be poking fun, type things.
Yeah.
But that's what I love. You wait all year round, especially with football. You play maybe twice in the NFL, your rival, but in college once, and then it eats you alive if you didn't come out on top for that. So
for that reason, for our friendship specifically, I'm very glad that I am a Hawkeye fan.
Yes.
I would even say like bordering diehard, but I'm very glad that I'm not to the point that a Hawkeye loss ruins my day.
Yes.
Because the Hawkeyes are probably at least 2 decades away from beating Michigan in a fair football game. So that would be a terrible rivalry between you and me to be a Hawkeye-Michigan rivalry.
Yeah, that would be. So, no, I think that's what's so good about sports is you follow a team and you just naturally grow up hating, despising their rival team, and it's just fun. It brings another element, another level to a game.
What's your best burn on Ohio State?
My best burn?
Yeah. I want to know.
Well, last year we were at a company-wide event, and this was and one of my closest buddies is an Ohio State fan, and I chanted OH, knowing he'd reply IO. And I said, like, 0-4 the last 4 years.
I 0-4.
Yeah. So it caught him off guard pretty well. So.
That's funny. Yeah,
that's a good one.
That is a really good one.
I like that. I'd say another thing that I really like about sports, and I would say I love about sports, is just the competitiveness of it all. Not even just the rivalry aspect, but like just watching people go out and give everything that they have to do that. I was an athlete, not anything beyond high school, but like I definitely experienced that. There's an adrenaline rush that you experience personally, but like also just being someone watching that spectator, like that's pretty cool too. Like I was even watching some Wimbledon matches earlier. My brother-in-law coaches tennis, so I'm a little bit kind of into tennis. Not like a diehard fan, but I'll watch tennis because he watches tennis. You know, it's one of those things. And there was some really good tennis. In fact, there's a really good match between his name's Sinner, which is a really weird name, but he's from Italy, so I guess that's something. And then Dimitrov, I'm probably saying his name wrong, but they had this super competitive match, and Sinner's ranked number 1 in the world right now. Like he's the best men's tennis player in the world, and Dimitrov is like, I don't know, 18, 19, but he was beating Sinner through multiple sets. And then Dimitrov goes to serve, and he like tore his pec or something, and he immediately dropped to the court, and you could tell Sinner on the other side of the court was just like distraught. Like he was just like, oh man, this sucks. And Dimitrov had to forfeit the match, and he was winning the match, but he forfeited because he couldn't go on. And Sinner, they interviewed him afterwards, and he was just like really upset and very short with the media. Like, I just feel really bad for him. This shouldn't have ended this way. I don't want to take a win this way, but it is what it is, and we got to keep moving forward. So it's like even moments like that where they're like kind of the more challenging moments, but you can tell that those two were just, they were competing. Yeah. And they were given everything that they had, and unfortunately it ended really badly for one of the guys, and it's kind of sad, but at the same time it's like, man, the other guy on the other side of the court has a ton of respect for the guy that was beating him, so much so that he didn't even want to really like gloat about the fact that he won. Like that's cool, and that's something like that hits deeper than the like, yeah, my team just won, you know, like that's meaningful, that's powerful. That's something I like about sports.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a good one.
All right, we've got a couple more here, at least for me. One thing I freaking love and hate, but mostly love about sports, specifically being a Vikings fan, are the times when it's like, okay, they got one more drive. Clock is ticking. They either complete this pass and win the game, or score the touchdown and win the game, or it's a bad week, and then they win. Those specific, yes, the Minneapolis Miracles times. I'm thinking of the time that Teddy Bridgewater threw an overtime touchdown to Jarius Wright against the New York Jets. It was like 80 yards, and it was like, no way! And you're Greg Lewis! Oh, yeah. And it's just like what? Like the genuine raw shock of like, yes, and joy, and especially if you're at the stadium or like in your basement with people that are having that exact same feeling. How many games have we watched together where it's like, oh man, yes, like out of nowhere, he made the kick, and it's just this like, for the next 10 minutes you're like, I don't know what to do with my hands. You're like, this is awesome. Dude. So that there's no better feeling. Yeah.
And it could go both ways. Like you said, it could be heartbreak.
Yeah. Because you could be on the edge, and then Christian Ponder throws interception, and you just turn the TV off.
I think we all have had it both ways, where your team is the victors in the last second, or have been crushed by a last second.
Oh yeah, if you're an actual sports fan of any sport, tennis, football, what's the one you said earlier? It's
called
soccer?
Football.
What if you're an actual sports fan?
Football.
You have been heartbroken and elated by your team many times over your life, and just that elation feeling is there's almost nothing like it.
I just remember being at Michigan Stadium on a last-second pass to Mario Manningham against Penn State. We were in that end zone. It just nutso.
I even go back to high
school. I was just
freshman
thinking,
in high school, and our football team, we were not on the field. We were in the stands. And it was that kind of same, like, last second diving or like falling behind catch in the end zone to win state.
Well,
like
we were juniors in high school when that happened, and it was actually like I remember that pretty vividly. I remember kind of where we were sitting, even because those playoff games were played at our college alma mater. So I know right in the dome where that happened and where we were sitting in relation to that. But anyways, in that game, our junior year when we won state, it was a 4th and 10.
You just did it, Evan.
What did I do?
You said we. Anyways, keep going.
Well, we are alumni of that school.
Anyway.
And they were our classmates. We knew those guys on the field. Anyways.
4th and 10.
4th and 10 completion, and then they were, I don't know, at the 20-yard line or something, and then got to another 4th and 10, and they had to do it. Like, in order to win, they had to do it, and they did it. 4th and whatever, through the touchdown, game over.
Yep.
That's awesome.
It was so cool. And we were there to witness it.
I hugged you. Like, that's the first thing I did was hug you.
It was awesome.
No, that's awesome. That was really cool. I got one more that I love about sports, and it's wearing the apparel, the swag, and then you walk around and others say a chant, for you, Skol. For us it's Go Blue. It's cool to, and you can, with our brands, you can go anywhere in this country, parts of the world, and you will find fans of the same, and it's just cool. I remember being in England and someone yelling "Go Blue" at me, and
awesome.
it's just one of those things you're not expecting it so far away, but it does happen. So that's what I love about sports. It connects you and from distances far away. So
just last month I was at Dollywood with the family and extended family, which is Tennessee, and I don't think I was wearing any Vikings or Hawkeye apparel or anything like that, but I was walking down early in the day, whole big family, and I was passing another, mom and dad and a couple of kids, and the dad was wearing a Hawkeye hat.
Got it.
And as we walked by, I just said, "Go Hawks," and he went from like, "Man, it's hot," like he was kind of like, he was walking with his kids in a theme park, and I said, "Go Hawks," and he like looked up, eyes beaming, "Go Hawks!" And I know we were both smiling for the next 10 minutes.
I do have a negative story on that topic. It's not super bad, but it's kind of funny actually, and I don't think I've shared this on the podcast, but I might have told you this story.
Maybe.
So last year, our college alma mater, you and I played Nebraska, which is my father-in-law's alma mater.
Is this the Larry the Cable Guy deal?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, keep going.
I don't think I've shared this on
Probably
the
not.
podcast.
No. Yeah. Keep going.
So my father-in-law, my wife's dad, went to Nebraska, and he's actually from the same town, the same little farm town in Nebraska as Larry the Cable Guy.
That's awesome.
And I'd seen that you and I was going to play Nebraska in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I told them, I'm like, "Hey, we should all try to go. That would be really fun." And they were like, "All right, let's do it." So we got the tickets, we made the plans to go, and I think like a couple of days before we left, they were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to tailgate with Larry the Cable Guy." And I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "We'll see. We're going to tailgate with some of his friends, and he might show up." And
Nice.
I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So we roll up. We walked, like, my father-in-law parked way far away because he wanted us to walk through campus. He was like, because he's really proud of, and it's cool. My brother-in-law, not his son, but my brother-in-law, who's married to my sister from a different family, studied at Nebraska, and we went and visited my sister and him in Lincoln while we were there. We've got some good memories in Nebraska. Anyways, walk through campus, we get to this tailgating lot, and there's some people there, and they're nice. I got offered a beer, and I'm like, well, heck yeah, I'll take a beer. Let's go. They don't serve beer in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. They will this year. This is the
Big
first
House
year.
started last year, so
It's the first year. But anyways, last year they did not. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take a beer. And we're just hanging out. And all of a sudden, this BMW starts pulling up right, like dangerously close. Like I'm standing here, and this is the BMW,
like put
pulling
away,
up,
yeah.
and he's honking on the horn and like being really rude and obnoxious. And we're like, who is that guy? And I like immediately moved like way out of the way and stood like opposite of that. And it took me a minute, but sure enough, there he was. Here's Larry the Cable Guy.
That's awesome.
Now, most people were wearing like a red shirt like this, and they had, the Nebraska insignia.
Salmon.
I'm wearing red for our
Salmon.
audio listeners.
I was wearing a purple Vikings shirt.
Oh, okay.
And that was on purpose because I wanted to wear purple because I'm a UNI alum and I wanted to support my school. And I didn't really have a good UNI shirt.
That's a travesty.
But I also didn't want to be like singled out for being a UNI fan in this stadium of like 80,000 rabid Nebraska fans. So he gets out and he takes one look at me and he goes, "You're not going to come back here if they win this game. Like, you're not going to be invited back here." And I'm like, "What do you mean? This isn't even a UNI shirt. This is a Viking shirt." He had no idea. Like, I don't know if he'd had a few beers in him at that point or what, but like he did not make the connection that I was not wearing a college shirt. I was wearing a pro NFL team shirt. And anyways, it was super hot. It was like an August game, and we were just hoping to like get the invite to go up to his box. Maybe my Viking shirt didn't help that case.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, we had to sit in the super hot stadium, which was still a really cool experience, and we had a lot of fun. But that was kind of one of those negative, like, oh, Nebraska maybe isn't the best place to get the, like, hey, Skol Vikes.
Yeah, but that was only one interaction.
Yeah.
I know. I did get a few Skol Vikes while I was there, which was cool, because I got sick of sitting in the bleachers, because, like, we're sitting pretty close together now, but when you're sitting in the bleachers at Memorial Stadium, you're like this. You are like shoulder to shoulder.
They're sweating each other's sweat.
Same way at Michigan.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's not the most comfy.
Packed in there like
there's
sardines.
a reason why they pack a lot.
US Bank Stadium is much more comfortable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a pro stadium.
I got uncomfortable sitting there, so I told my wife, I'm like, let's go walk around a little bit. And that's when I got all the compliments. I got a couple like, Skol Vikes. And Nebraska people are really nice. They're, they love their Big Red, even though they haven't been good for a while.
They have that is their team though, because they have no pro team.
Oh yeah. Well, just
there's a reason why Nebraska, even when their program has been horrible, football program has been horrible, they sell out every game.
Austin's
because
hacking my computer here.
People are faithful in Nebraska, and I have heard the same thing, that they are good fans.
Really, really quickly. So
you do the weird. Okay. Anyways, keep going. You're good.
He's from Omaha. Harrison Phillips. You're Googling Harrison Phillips.
Well, I was trying to think of any Viking Cornhuskers, and I thought for a second Harrison Phillips might have been a Cornhusker, but no, he went to Stanford.
Yeah. So. I was going to say something about that, though. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
The Skol Vikes and the uncomfortable stadium. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
You'll get there.
It's okay. Oh, I remember what it is now. This was in the news recently, and this brings us back to what we were talking about a little bit ago with Kirk Cousins and kind of maybe expressing some of his regret. Scott Frost.
The
left
former coach. Now he's coached at UCF again,
but he was at Michigan State.
But before
he was at Nebraska.
Got it. Okay.
Before Nebraska,
that's where he played his quarterback years. Anyway, sorry.
Before Nebraska, he was at UCF as the head coach, and he I think he had that 12-1 season.
Yes,
and they kind of petitioned the NCAA for a de facto national championship. So after that, he got summoned back to Nebraska, which is where he played, and he's from Nebraska originally, and he was there for 4 seasons, and all 4 seasons were terrible. And I think everybody in the state of Nebraska thought he was the next coming of Jesus Christ. I thought they thought he was going to save the program from Bo Pelini and all the other bad coaches that had followed from the mid 90s when they were really good, and it was terrible. So he left, and now it's Matt Rule, which is interesting. He's been I think a pretty decent coach.
This is going into his third year.
I think. But But anyways,
Carolina Panthers coach.
But he
Scott
made his thing at Baylor. So
Scott Frost is now back at UCF, I believe, as the head coach. Is he not?
Yeah.
He was just quoted, I think, like within the last couple of days.
It was on ESPN.
Saying something similar to what Kirk said, like, had I known what I knew.
Oh, yeah.
What I know now, I would not have gone back to Nebraska. He regrets going back to Nebraska.
I think that's easy for him to say. I think I get you're trying to correlate. I think it's totally different.
It's different, yes. Because he was writing
12-1, season from, because 2 years prior UCF was 0-12. So he literally turned that program right around. And he, being the alma mater of Nebraska, being, the quarterback during the 97 run where they somehow shared national championship with Michigan. Don't get me started on that. But anyway, he was the QB during that era.
Yes.
So me personally, I think he says that, and it's easy to say it hindsight.
Sure, yeah.
I think he was all excited to go to Nebraska.
Yeah, who wouldn't be?
I think he was originally, and I think Kirk was originally excited to go to Atlanta for some of those reasons.
What head coach doesn't want to get not only a pay increase, but be on a higher profile program like Nebraska?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm experiencing that right now with NCAA College Football 26, the video game is. Yeah. Okay, not as funny as I thought.
You trying to work your way up?
Yeah. I just started the other day. I quit the first game because the Hawkeyes couldn't.
You already bought the game?
Yeah.
I thought you said you were going to wait a few weeks to buy it.
No. So it ended up being cheaper to buy the bundle of that and Madden than to buy them individually.
So you're practicing before you play me, and when I buy the game and play.
So I played Forrest. I played him in 2 games of NCAA 25. He literally beat me by 100 each game. Like I had been.
That makes me feel really good because I never have beaten him, and I don't play video games. But we played in college, and I could never win.
Well, one time you went to the bathroom, and I switched out your quarterback for the punter. So
the truth comes out. I did know about that. In hindsight, but
anyways, so things we love about sports. I have one more. I don't know if you guys have any more.
I'm good.
All right.
I might have one more. We'll see.
My one more, we kind of touched on it and even talked about it a little bit earlier. But my one more is we're all dads, fathers of young children, 10 or younger. And I have loved introducing my kids to being a Vikings fan. And yes, I'm very vocal on this podcast about my ice cream rule. If the Vikings win, my family gets ice cream.
It's a good
I think
rule.
Both of your families have benefited from that.
Oh yeah,
at some point.
have.
Definitely.
But
mine.
my kids know, even to the point that it could be July right now, and if I'm just like watching random YouTube videos, if it's like a Vikings highlight video, which we talked about a few weeks ago, we do just to throw on TV
randomly.
My 5-year-old will come up and he'll be like, "Oh, if the Vikings win, do we get ice cream today?"
It's not necessarily the Vikings won; it's the reward that he gets.
Yeah. So it's the bribe, but also like there have been times. My oldest daughter is 10 years old now, and in the last couple of years, I've seen sparks of like, oh, it's not just ice cream. Like she's asking questions. And even to the point, I'll never forget, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago now, we could probably look it up. The Vikings had a primetime Thursday-ish night game against the Steelers, and it was a close game, and I think the way it worked out was the Vikings ended up losing late in the game. It was a close game, the Vikings lost. And it must not have been prime time because it would have been after bedtime for her. But anyways, she sat next to me towards the end of the game, and I was asking questions like, "Oh, what happens when he throws it?" And I was like, "Yeah, they might win." And then it became very evident within the last minute or so, like, yeah, they're not going to win. It's not our week. Yep. And she actually shed some tears, which I was upset about the loss, but like I got that she understood this game a little bit. And yeah, she doesn't know football through and through. Nobody really does unless you're a coach, But like she felt it, and she wanted the Vikings to win, and this was pre-ice cream rule.
She felt it, or she felt sad for you?
Well, I mean, it's not like I was like crying, but like I was. It was almost like I was like, "Oh yeah, oh babe, yeah, they're going to lose. Like, it's okay. And she started, it didn't ruin her week. You know, she probably doesn't even remember it. But at the time, like, her eyes got a little wet. And I was like, man, I'm doing something right. She's
love that because I have the same types of experience with my daughter. And that's why I asked, because I think my daughter at this point, she's starting to come around with understanding sports, but I think her emotional attachment knows, because I'm either really happy or I'm a little sad that my team lost, that she's sad for me is right now is where her emotional state is.
Your daughter is the one. We'll go to the local minor league baseball game, and she'll be, yeah, go! And like, she's actually cheering. Yeah. You might have to tone me down there when you edit this sound
we'll
on
check
this.
That out.
It'll be interesting. That's probably like crazy. But like, your daughter's the one that's like actually cheering when all the other kids are like playing, you know, card games.
So, interestingly enough, that might tie perfectly into my last thing that I love about sports, unless you have anything.
No, go for it. No, I'm good.
So, our local minor league baseball team, the River Bandits, the owner was just featured on the news recently.
Okay.
So the ballpark itself has been nominated as the best minor league ballpark
it's
in
fantastic.
America, like 3 years in a row or something. Modern Woodman Park in Davenport, Iowa. If you can ever get here to watch a game, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, as far as sports goes, it's
for a single A minor league team.
For a cheap, you know, minor league
$5 ticket,
it's awesome. So anyways, basically what he said in his interview, or one of the things he said in his interview on the news was, there's nothing like being able to watch a future all-star or a future Hall of Famer. Like, there have been countless guys, like Joe Mauer, for example. Back when that team was a Twins affiliate, Joe Mauer played some time here in Davenport, Iowa. And when I was a kid, when we were in like 4th or 5th grade, I got to go to a camp that Joe Mauer worked at.
Future MLB MVP, AL MVP.
Got his autograph, and Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Like, the dude's a stud. Chris Carpenter played for the Cardinals. Did some rehab here in Davenport.
I remember that game specifically.
Back when I think we were in high school, maybe.
I was going to say, I mean, Joe Mauer's a great story. It's so hard, I mean, to make it all the way from getting drafted single A all the way to majors. So Joe Mauer is a fantastic story, especially for the Quad Cities. But more often, like you said, and I'll let you return, is the rehab assignments where you get to see guys that you may not normally see.
Correct. So, But anyways, I bring that up because he kept reiterating in his interview, like, you might see a future Hall of Famer. You might see a future All-Star player. And I think that's something that I love about sports, even like going down so far as me coaching at the high school level and being involved in the athletics program at my high school. Like, I get to potentially see potential people that go on to, you know, go pro and whatever. Like, you see those NCAA commercials that are like, oh, you know,
I went pro in accounting or whatever.
We're all gonna go pro in something other than sports. But like, some of them might. And like, just the other day, I think I told you this, Darian Porter walks down the hill at our high school, where I'm there every morning during the summer doing our cross country workouts with our kids, and here he comes, and one of our other coaches was there with me, and she knew him pretty well because she worked with him previously. I'd never coached him, but she started just talking to him like he was just some other kid, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this guy just got drafted into the NFL.
3rd round pick to the Raiders.
And I, like, when there was a break in the conversation, I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm Evan, nice to meet you. And I reached my hand across, and open invitation, by the way, if you're out there listening, Darian. But anyways, it was just cool, and it just got me thinking, like, I love that about sports, to know that, like, that kid went to the same high school I did, had a great college career, and is now drafted in the NFL. Like, and I got to shake his hand because he came back to my high school to do his off-season workouts. That's pretty cool. That's pretty special.
Very cool.
It's something. And the minor league stuff that we were talking about a second ago too. It's just that stuff is really cool. It's the rags to riches. Like, I went from Davenport, Iowa to the Chicago Cubs or the Minnesota Twins or whatever. I went from Bettendorf, Iowa to the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Or like, we've got some other famous guys that have made it into the NFL, specifically from this area. Roger Craig from Davenport.
Tavian Banks, Pat Anger.
Pat Anger. Like there have been some pretty big names.
Chasing Randall from Rock Island.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Well, that's the thing too. Like sports that can like river up to the top, and even if you look over the last 50 years, it seems like every community in the world has some kind of a pro sports athlete. Like Messi came from somewhere, right? Like Peyton Manning came from somewhere. Like there's a community everywhere that's like, yeah, we had a guy that, even if it was like, you know, my stepbrother played in AA. Like everybody has some kind of connection to like. There's a little bit of sports. Like
we started our episode talking about Andrew VanGinkel, and none of us remembered that he's from Rock Valley, Iowa,
I'm pretty embarrassed
which is a tiny little town in northwest Iowa, right on the Missouri River between Iowa and Nebraska. And
some of those
crazy
small town people make it big.
Yeah. So. And with college too, you get that filter of college. Like there are UNI Panthers that went to the NFL that were like, oh yeah, we like that dude, he's a Panther. That's right. But maybe we would have never had a connection because he's actually from Florida.
There are UNI Panthers that I ran track against when I was in high school. I ran on the same track in the same heat, like probably shoulder to shoulder with David Johnson, who then blew it up at UNI. Be honest,
you were fast, but he probably blew right by you.
I have newspaper results to prove that I was faster than him in high school.
All right, we need to get David Johnson on the pod. But like even Michigan, like
sounds like next time we hit on the track meet, boom.
All right, I'd love to see how that race would go right now.
It would not go as well as it did when I was in high school because I'm not in the same shape. He's probably in better shape than I am.
I think he's still like in. I think he has let the NFL go, but he's game ready. Still in.
I guarantee his body is ready to go.
Oh yeah.
He's game ready for sure. Well, man, I feel like we could just keep going on that, but. Probably better.
Somebody said no, we can't have a 10-hour episode. So
I didn't say it. I'm just saying we should probably wrap it up because I have to pee.
Yeah, I gotta pee too.
I gotta get up early in the morning. But what did you guys think of Ruthie?
I had all 4 of mine. Well, almost all 4.
Almost.
Yeah. There's a 4th?
Yeah, there's.
Man, I only have 3.
When the F did we get ice cream?
What in the world is going on? I come on the podcast and I get shorted a beer.
No, it's right there. It's right in front of you there, sir.
I'm going to slam it now.
Exile, you did a great job making the... This is going to sound like a deficit or a mean thing, but I mean it to be a compliment.
It's my fault. I did that.
You made the lowest common denominator of beers, but like a solid... beer. That's probably what I should have said. Exile, you did a great job. I will have a Ruthie any day, anytime. It's a darn near perfect lager. It's really good. I love it.
It's tasty.
I feel like I can't say any more without sounding disingenuous. So, what do you guys think?
Everything you just said times 100. I like it. It's a great beer.
Yeah, for me, solid beer. I like to support, the craft brew scene. So Exile, we've been there in Des Moines.
We have, and we went there on the last brew hop.
Yeah,
we might be having another Skol Hop brew hop coming up, and we might be featuring friend of the show Forrest over here. So if you enjoyed episode 50 last summer with the Skol Hop brew hop 1.0, I don't know if it'll be 100 this year.
We're gonna aim for 100.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, I don't know if Exile will be on that list. We got a different route this year. Anyways, I totally cut you off.
We gotta make sure we hit all the breweries,
Oh yeah, Iowa has so many great breweries.
Yeah, they do. They really do. They're graced with good breweries.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a really good beer. Possibly the best episode yet.
Skol.
Hell.
Skol.